Are you struggling to grow your social media following despite consistent efforts? Do you want to learn proven strategies to attract your ideal audience and increase your engagement? Today's topic, 3 proven strategies to amplify your influence on social media. Welcome to Social Media Saturdays. It's your girl, Taria, your favorite behind-the-scenes girl turned center stage. And each week, the question I set out to answer is, how does the average entrepreneur like ourselves attract their divine client and build a loyal following and their tribe? And then most importantly, what skills must you learn and who are you required to become? Now, I am super excited to have this conversation today. We are kicking off our month of social influence. Now, I'm going to start off by saying, I know that it's easy to get frustrated, very frustrated when you are on social media and you feel like you're stagnant. When you take a look at your growth on social media, things aren't moving, your engagement seems to be low and lacking. And those things can lead to, like I said, frustration and cause you to stop and take a pause and rethink your strategy while you're on social media. So those are some of the things that we're going to take some time and we're going to talk about this morning. And so this is for you if you are really ready to shift gears and level up your online presence. So whether you consider yourself a seasoned content creator, entrepreneur, coach, or consultant, or if you are just starting out your journey, what I'm going to share with you today will help you, like I said, bring your social media to the next level. But before we jump into today's topic, let me do a quick check and see who is out there with us this morning. And so if you are out there and you're joining, just go ahead, drop a comment. Let me know, Taria, I could see you, I could hear you, and you are tuning in to this week's Social Media Saturdays. And then while I'm doing that, I am trying to find the feed so I could see all of the comments, because I want to make sure that I'm answering questions and I'm having or getting the opportunity to engage with everyone. So I do believe that I see Glenda Kelly out there this morning. Great morning, Glenda. How are you? Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to tune in to Social Media Saturdays and joining us this morning. While you're here and we're waiting for others to jump on, do me a favor. Let me know where you are watching from. So take a minute, drop your city, drop your state. Let me know where you are tuning in from this morning. Also, share with us, who do you serve in your business? Who do you serve in your business? And then how can we connect with you outside of our community? Now, this is one of the fun things that I love to do every time I do an episode of Social Media Saturdays, because it gives us the opportunity to do what I call virtual networking. So there are people out there who would love to know a little bit more about you, about your business, who you serve, how you serve, and maybe they can connect with you and do what I call virtual networking. But we won't know who you are and how you serve and where we can connect with you unless you tell us. So take a moment and go ahead and drop that into the comment section below. And I think I have found my feed. And let me just go ahead and lower down the volume here so there won't be any conflict. And I'm trying to see my comments. I can't see my comments. Okay, so I'm not going to fool around with this too much longer. It's always one of those crazy things that allows me, I can't find my comments. I don't know where my comments are. But anyway, let's get this party bus rolling. So I'm super excited to have this conversation today. And once again, the topic of our conversation is 3 proven strategies to amplify your audience on social media. And so I'm super excited because one of the things that I've dedicated to do on our time on Social Media Saturdays is to make sure that I am just not sharing things about social media, like tactics and the to-do things on social media, but I want to make sure that I lay up a backdrop and a foundation for understanding. So as you go through the motions, as you go through the things on social media, you understand the why. So this month, our focus on social media is social influence. Now, I'm going to share with you, last week we did not have a Social Media Saturdays episode. And the reason why is because I have the opportunity to partner and collaborate with Susan Hart, and we do a freestyle training program. And it was so interesting on the program. One of our students on there actually, as I went through the process of explaining what influence is, she actually had an aha moment and it touched me. So I want to lay up this conversation and set the tone for the conversations for the month by first taking a moment to define influence. So I'm going to ask you, as you're out there, you're tuning in and you're watching, I want to see, I know from you or hear from you, what do you think your definition of influence is? So go ahead, drop that in a comment. I would really like to know, how do you define influence? So as you define influence, how do you look at influencers on social media? Okay, so I would also be curious to know is when you hear the term influencers as it pertains to the social media realm, what are some of your thoughts? What are some of your definitions? So I would really love to know that. So take a moment and drop that in the comment section for me. Okay, and I see that Audrey Hyman is out there this morning. Great morning, Audrey. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining. And Audrey is hailing from Maryland, and Audrey serves those who are looking to explore a career in a travel industry. So thank you so much for jumping on and tuning in and joining us, Audrey. I always look forward to seeing all of the wonderful content of the places and the things that you share as you do your travel. So good job, good job. And I see that Glenda Kelly is out there, and Glenda is hailing all the way from Alabama. And so Glenda, if you can, just go ahead, let us know who you serve in your business and how we can connect with you. And the same thing for you, Audrey, just let us know how we can connect with you in your business, okay? And so I was waiting for, and I'm still waiting to see the comments coming in on how do you define influence and what do you think an influencer is as it pertains to social media. So I had one of our students, actually said, oh, wow, the way how I defined influence, or let me back up, she never saw herself as being an influencer. So how many of you out there, you're on social media, you have your business, but you don't necessarily consider yourself as an influencer? And so one of the things that I shared is first we have to define the word influence. And one of the things that I've come to learn how to do is redefine words, as it pertains to, really the application, or take a look, I should say, not really redefine, but take a look at a deeper, because sometimes we hear words all the time, but do we really understand what the word means? And so one of the things that I shared as it pertains to influence, I like to take a look at influence, and I've gathered this definition from my partner, Suzanne Hart, and we've been having discussions about this, what exactly is influence? And so when we look at it and you boil down to it, it's how you inspire others to action. So that's how I choose to take a look at the word influence, is the ability to inspire others to action. So as we take a look at ourselves in business, how well are we inspiring our audience? How well are we inspiring our clients to take the desired action that we want them to take? And so it was really neat and cool to see that as I shared that definition of influence, there were ahas in the room. mindset shifts in the room of what they believe influences and who influencers are in the realm of social media. So one of the things I truly believe is that we all have the opportunity to create influence in our business. And it's all about how we show up. And especially in the space of social media, how do you show up on social media in such a way that you are inspiring your audience to take the desired actions that you want them to take? Okay. And so as we take a look at social influence, I'm going to go ahead and share with you three things that I would like you to remember when we talk about social influence. And like I said, this is going to be the backdrop of our conversations for the month of February, with the remainder of February. Okay. So first of all, when we talk about social influence is all about establishing authority in your particular niche. So how well do you show up as an authority or as an expert in your niche? So that's the first thing that I want you to think about. The second thing that I want you to think about is sharing valuable content with your audience that would allow them to engage with you. And then you're showing up as what I call a resource. Okay. And I talk about social media all the time because it's one of the biggest things that I had to kind of unlearn and relearn about social media. When I first entered into the world of social media was positioned as this great selling tool. And everyone wanted to be on social media because of all the people that there are on social media, you could sell your products and services. Now, I'm going to say, while that is absolutely true, you do have the opportunity, to position your products or services on social media. Okay. It's also about how well do you show up as a resource. And I think that serving and providing value lays a great foundation for you to position your products and your programs. So if you're the type of person, you're the business owner, the entrepreneur who's just showing up whenever you have a product or service to offer, I call that hawking your wares in these social media streets, you want to stop and kind of reconsider, that strategy. So stop, take a minute and kind of reframe the mindset, shift the mindset to social media being a serving tool. So how can you use social media to serve in your business? So that's my reframe for social media. I take a look at social media as a serving tool. And then lastly, when it comes to defining social influence, we want to once again, take a look at how well do we inspire others to take action. And so it's all about being able to influence decision-making through the things that we do on social media. And we do that via our content, whether we host webinars, through our written programs, whether we run ads. How well are we able to influence the decision-making of our audience, okay? So as we talk about social influence, that is the groundwork for our conversation. So today, we're going to be talking about three things. And so the first thing that I want to share is the three things that you should be honing in on when it comes to your social media. Okay, that's the first thing that I want to, get clear, because a lot of times we're on social media and we're doing these things, but we don't necessarily have a clear strategy that would allow us to be set up for success. Okay, and so the three things, and I hope, and before I get started, let me just go back and say this. Each time you join me on Social Media Saturdays, I want you to come prepared with your pen and your notebook, because this is an opportunity for you to take copious notes, okay? So the three things you should be focused on or you should hone in on when it comes to your social media. The first thing I want to talk about is getting clear on your audience. Do you know who your people are? Okay. And so if you are out here, I see Glenda is still with me, Audrey is still with me. drop a line inside of the comments and let me know who you serve in your business. And so the reason why I ask this question every time I turn on the camera and do one of these episodes is for you to have the ability to really get clear and identify who is it that you serve in your business, okay? And so let me know who you serve in your business. Audrey did a great job of letting me know who she serves in her business, okay? And so last month, we focused on social listening. So sometimes people would tell me, Taria, I really don't know who my divine clients are. And I struggle trying to identify who my people are on social media. And so last month, we talked about this cool thing that's called social listening. And social listening is the ability for you to keep your ear on the ground on social media and gather intel on your audience. And so this once again gives you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about your audience. So are you aware? And I know in marketing, one of the things that they teach us all the time is that you have to speak to the specific pain or know the pain that your audience, your clients are in, and then you provide the solution to that pain. Okay, so I like to take it a little bit further and go a little bit deeper and go past the pain. So do you, first of all, know the pain? Do you also know the transformation that they desire? Do you know their, what I like to call their emotional branding? Okay, so how do they show up? You know, what are the things that they desire? What are the things that drive them? This is the thing that I love the most about social media, is because social media is the place where these conversations are happening all around us. And it just takes for us to take some time and do some active listening to our audience. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want you to think about when we talk about honing in, is honing in on your audience. Do you know who your people are? And then the second thing that I would like for you to pay attention and hone into is your platform. Now, I'm going to tell you, one of the things that I say all the time, I am not a big proponent of everyone being everywhere on social media all at once. Okay, so I am all for doing social media with grace, ease, and flow. I'm just going to say that. And I'm going to stand on the premise that it's always best to develop or choose 1 to 2 platforms, develop a clear strategy. And as you get that strategy up and running, then you could consider adding platforms. Okay, so I'm not a proponent of being all over the place on social media without having a clear strategy. So when it comes to choosing a platform, how do you choose your platform that you are going to position yourself on? And so a lot of times what I find that people do when it comes to choosing a platform, they choose a platform that they like, or they choose a platform that they are comfortable with. How many of you do that? Right? A lot of people do it. But here's the shift that I'm going to encourage you to do. As you take a look at defining your audience and honing in on your people, start to ask yourself the question, where are your people hanging out? So do you know where they hang out? So are they hanging out on LinkedIn? Are they hanging out on YouTube? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? If they are on Facebook, exactly what part of Facebook are they hanging out on? Do you know the communities that they're in? This also goes back into social listening, by the way, okay? But first is honing in and knowing what platforms your audience is on, and then you want to make sure that you are positioning on that platform so you can attract your audience. You could start to attract your divine people for you. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing when it comes to honing in is to get very clear on your messaging. So as you attract or you define, you get clear on your audience, you know which platform that you're positioning on. Are you clear on your message? So when people see you or they encounter you on platforms, they know exactly how you are able to serve them, okay? And so when it comes to amplifying our influence, those are the three things that as a coach, as an entrepreneur, you should be tuning into. So first is getting clear on your audience. Who are the people that you are divinely called to serve? Second, which platform you're going to position yourself on. And then third, get clear on your message. All right. And I see that Geneva is out there this morning. Great morning, Geneva. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining. And Suzanne is out there this morning. Great morning, Suzanne. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining. I just mentioned your name, girl. Gave you a shout out. And then I see Oren is out there with me this morning. Great morning, Oren. So for the newcomers, Suzanne, Geneva, and Oren, take a moment to drop in the comments who you serve and how you serve in your business and how we can connect with you. So now the second thing that I'm going to touch on when it comes to amplifying your influence on social media, we're going to talk about the first thing that you need to consider before you share content. Now, how many of you, when it comes to creating content, you could fall in that content creation rut? If you're brave enough, go ahead, drop a yes in the comment, let me know. And this is what I mean when it comes to being in a content creating rut. You know, one of the things that drives social media is content and the ability to create content and put content out on social media. So it's like you're in a rut, and what you do is you produce content, but you're not really sitting back and thinking strategically about the type of content that you are producing on social media. So if that's a challenge for you, then I have something to share with you today. So one of the things that I'm going to share with you, or the first thing I'm going to share with you before you create any piece of content to break that content rut cycle, is ask yourself, what is the purpose of the content that I'm going to create? So before you sit down and you lay out your content plan, what is the purpose of the content? And so as you plan your content, is your content designed, number one, to create engagement? Is it designed for you to learn more about your audience? Do you want to position or promote a product or service on your content, okay, or with that piece of content, whether it's a video or written content? What is the purpose of the content? And I find when I sit down and I actually ask myself, what is the purpose of this piece of content before I create it, I usually do a whole lot better versus just getting into the motion of creating the content, okay? Because once I know the purpose of the content, I'm able to set the content up right. And then when I go back to chat, I am knowing exactly the results that I am looking for, right? The key performance indicators of your content. So what is the purpose of the content? And like I said, what this allows you to do is create with intention. And this brings me to one of the points that I always share when it comes to creating your content and you look at your audience, being able to create the content that is specifically designed for them. So as you take a look at who you want to serve or who you're serving on social media, you're actively doing social listening. Now you're able to show up as a resource for your people because you always have them in your mind and you're thoughtful about your audience before you create the content. Okay. And so this allows people to, number one, see themselves in their content. You show up as an influencer, and the call to actions that you give in your content allows people to make decisions to take action. So that's one of the things, like I said, the second thing I want you to be able to consider is have or know the purpose of your content before you sit down to create your content. So whether it's the written content or the video content, you want to make sure that you know the purpose. Now, the third thing, and this is where it gets really exciting, that I'm going to share with you that will allow you to amplify your influence on social media is visibility. Okay, so we're going to talk about that because a lot of times, remember, I went back to in the top of the show, I said a lot of times we're doing all of these things on social media. We're posting, we're doing videos, we're showing up. But when we take a look at our efforts aren't getting the reach that we desire and the reach that we want. And so the secret to the third thing, which is visibility, is collaboration. So how well are you collaborating with others to increase your visibility? And so one of the things that I had to get present to, and I'll share with you my story. One of the things that I had to get present to is that when it comes to social media, sometimes I feel like I'm doing a lot of things on my own where it doesn't have to be that heavy lift. Right? So we have a network. That's all part of what social media is. It's a beautiful place for us to network. So who are you connected to, and connecting with that would allow you to amplify your influence? And so this brings about the great strategy of collaboration. Now, one of the things that I'm going to share with you today is when we take a look at collaboration, we want to make sure that we know who our influencers are. And so at the top of the show, I asked everyone to stop and take a moment to define influence and define what they think an influencer is. Okay. And so as it pertains to you and your industry, your niche that you serve, who are your top 5 influencers? Do you know? And so when I take a look at the word influencers, I like to define influencers as people who have an audience of my people. Okay, so influencers should be the people in your network that have an audience of your people. You both share the same audience. Now, I know for some people, this gets to be a little touchy because then they go into like the competition thing, like, oh, I don't want to, share my audience, or I don't want, to show up in such a way that people don't want to collaborate with me. And I'm just going to say this, it's not about competition. It's all about being a resource. And so once again, showing up as the resource. And so as you identify your influencers in your space, how do you show up as a resource for them? Okay, and this could be something as simple as looking at, do they have communities? So what are the communities that influencers in your industry have? That, once again, communities are the group of people that you guys have in common. So how can you show up in that community and be a resource? And when I talk about being a resource, I'm not just talking about showing up and dropping links to your products and your services. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is how well are you able to engage in conversations that are already happening in those communities, and how well can you also initiate conversations in those communities, okay? So start to think of yourself as a resource. And then the second thing, when it comes to collaboration, which I think is so powerful, start to think about the people that you would build relationships with that would allow you to do more things together. And like I said, social media is such a wonderful place for this to happen. So who are the people that you are connected with that you could partner that would do events with? So if you're planning an event, you don't always have to do an event by yourself. Who would be a great collaborator on the event? If you're out there and you host a podcast, who are some of the people that you can invite as guests on your podcast? And are you also actively seeking out platforms like podcast platforms that you could be a guest on as well? Things like I am doing now, live videos. This is such an easy way to, once again, partner with another influencer, a collaborator, and show up as a resource for both your audience. So if you haven't started thinking about doing live videos, now would be your opportunity to do so. And webinars are also a great opportunity to do so. And so one of the greatest things that happened for me in my business was when I had the opportunity to step into collaboration with Susan Hart. And from there, we both expanded our reach. So what I mean, because we came together, combined our efforts, we are able to touch more people than we would have ordinarily touched by ourselves. And that's the opportunity and the power behind collaboration, and it's the number one secret to increasing your visibility on social media. And as a matter of fact, not just social media, but in other arenas as well. So collaboration is definitely the key to increasing your visibility. So I'm going to take a minute and pause and see any questions that I have out there. And I see Oren is joining from Stone Mountain, Georgia. We use the game of chess to at-risk youth how to play chess and make their next move their best move. I absolutely love that, Oren. Thank you so much for going ahead and sharing that with me. All right, okay. And so I am going to open it up now for any additional questions that you might have. Like I said, once again, this is my opportunity to show up and serve and give you the opportunity to bring your questions, your thoughts, your concerns that you have in regards to social media. So I'm just going to give it like a couple minutes or so to see if any more questions are rolling in, or what about this episode stood out for you? What would be your big takeaway from the episode? I'm just giving it a minute. Okay, so I don't see any additional questions or comments as yet. So I am just going to go ahead and wrap this session up with the thought of the week. So at the end of every episode, I always try to leave with a golden nugget, something for you to consider as you continue to shine during your week. So the thought of the week is your journey to social media success begins with a single step, but the path is illuminated with clarity. Remember, before you can shine on social media, you must first align yourself with strategies and intention. So make sure you start with clarity, offer value, and embrace the power of collaboration. And this, once again, would allow you to amplify your influence and attract your divine clients. So with that being said, let's all continue to shine. So thank you once again for tuning in and joining this week's episode on Social Media Saturdays. It's your girl, Taria Hodge, and I will be back here next Saturday as well, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. And I'm just making sure, I think I see some last minute questions on here. Collaboration is my key, great takeaway. And I do a webinar and a podcast. I have to come back and answer this one for you, Audrey. So I will do that in just a moment. I'll answer it in the comments because I could hardly see it on here. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining. And I will see you back here next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care and continue to shine until next time. Bye-bye.